All right, Theresa Hart from Newby-Ginnings joins us today to tell the tragic story of her son's death in Iraq, but she turned it into an amazing thing and built Newby-Ginnings here in North Idaho. They serve 6,000 veteran families. Let's go. Welcome to the North Idaho Experience Podcast. It's a podcast of, by, and for the people of North Idaho and those who are North Idaho curious. These are the incredible stories of the people that choose to call North Idaho home. And if you're thinking about making North Idaho your home, give our real estate team a call, text, or email info@nidexperience.com. I am very excited to announce the guest that we have today. I've been trying to do this for a long time. She's finally here. Thank you. We have Theresa Hart, founder of Newby-Ginnings, and Drew McConnell. He's the program manager over at Newby-Ginnings. It is a veteran organization located right here in North Idaho. They are doing phenomenal things for the veteran community, and the backstory is pretty incredible. So it's a bit of a tearjerker too. I've heard it myself, and Theresa's going to share it today. So thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Good to have you guys. I guess let's dive right in, Theresa, if you don't mind, kind of giving the story of how Newby-Ginnings came to life.
Okay. So Newby-Ginnings is spelled differently than what you would think. It's Newby-Ginnings, and it's a play on my son's name, Nick Newby. So Nick, he joined the Idaho National Guard right here in Post Falls in 2008. He graduated from high school in 2009. Then he went to basic training in 2009, did all his advanced training in 2009, and then he was deployed to Iraq with his unit in 2010. So some people were here during that time and remember that deployment. It was a big deployment. Hundreds of our local men and women. Is that the unit
right there on Saltese in Post Falls?
Okay. Yep, the armory out there.
Okay. Yep.
So his unit did convoy security. Nick was the gunner. So he was the one that sat up in the turret. And with today's technology, or even back in 2010, I got to talk to Nick all the time. I wore my phone on a holster. So if he Facebooked me or, texted me, I was like right there. Yeah. So with the 10-hour time difference, sometimes Nick would be coming back from a mission as I was going to work. I was working for the state of Idaho at the time as a registered nurse. And so I got to talk to Nick all the time. However long it took me to get to work, I knew I talked to him just about every day then. And really, he wouldn't really tell me what he was doing. I guess there's a thing called, operational security, something like that, which I think is stupid and shouldn't apply to mothers.
Yeah, agreed.
So he never really told me what he was doing. He goes, but I will tell you this, Mom. He goes, I'm not afraid. He said, nothing can hurt me here. I know exactly where I was standing in the kitchen when he was telling me this, leaning up against the counter. And he says, I have all the trust in the world in the Army, in my armor, in my brothers. He goes, nothing can hurt me here. And he says, well, actually, there's one thing I'm afraid of. And I said, well, what is that? And he says, well, it's called an EFP, explosively formed penetrator. Okay. Familiar?
Not with that.
No.
Oh, only because I've heard you tell it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not.
But not before that.
So explosively formed penetrator. So apparently it is a very big bomb. They call it like an armor-piercing bomb. It's cylindrical shaped. It's full of molten copper, and it'll go through anything. It's not tripped like a regular IED that you roll over or step on and it goes boom. It's detonated. So you have people that are watching, and they're waiting. So Nick said, the good news, Mom, is they're super expensive to make. They're really rare. He says, I will never see one. So Nick was out on a mission. He was the third vehicle in a 3-vehicle convoy. The first 2 vehicles are what are called MRAPs, so they're up-armored. He was in a Humvee. Probably shouldn't have been in a Humvee. He was in a Humvee, and he wasn't the gunner that day. So he and the sergeant had traded places. So Nick was in the passenger seat as the truck commander. And so he was on his way back to Camp Victory, and an EFP. The one thing that Nick said he was afraid of was detonated right next to the driver's side door of the Humvee that he was in. So it went right through the cab. Wow. So Nathan Byers was driving the Humvee, so we lost him that day as well. And we lost my Nick. And Jason was in the turret that day. He did survive, but he lost both of his legs.
Now, did he know Nathan and Jason before he went out there? Were they part of the Idaho National Guard with him as well?
Yes.
Okay.
So they're local as well?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was that's tough, and I think that's one of those things about military law enforcement. A lot of times you get put with people that you don't know for a lot of reasons like that. There's a lot of, you take Seth and I and you put us in a position, we have a tendency to want to protect one another. We already have a previous relationship. So, having them out there like that, I mean, they obviously had a relationship for a long time. And how long were they all in prior to that? In 2019? Or sorry.
2000, well, they went over, I think it was September of 2010.
Okay.
Something like that.
So they were together for about a year training before then.
Yeah. And they were 10 months into their deployment. Wow. So 10 months into a 12-month deployment.
That's such an impact on a relatively small community up here.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge. I still get to talk to people that have waited this long to tell me they knew Nick. It's just taken them a while. It's a pretty close community.
Yeah. That was, going through stuff like that, it's crazy because people are so withdrawn from reality when it comes to it, right? They see people going over to the war, they see stuff like that, or they don't consider it a war, right? Like, oh, they're just going on deployment because there's so many of these, these people coming back, but they don't realize that there's a real and obvious danger when we send people in uniform to other countries.
100%. In fact, I had so many people say, oh, well, good thing he's in Iraq. There's nothing going on in Iraq. Like, what are you worried about? So I really didn't worry about him. It was, was he hot? Was he cold? Was he hungry? Was he tired? I didn't know because I didn't know the environment that he was in. And I certainly didn't want anybody yelling at him because I didn't yell at him. I didn't want anybody else yelling at him. The thought of something like this happening to him literally did not occur to me because the world could not turn with Nick not on it.
How did you find out? If you don't mind me asking, if that's too much, then
no, it's fine.
Okay.
So I know it was a Thursday, 7/11, July 7th of 2011. We had all gone to work and come home, and it was bright. The sun stays out very late. And I remember, I have another son, Nathan. This is him here. He was 15 at the time. And I have two stepchildren, Cody and Kayla, and they were all in the den playing video games and hanging out, doing their thing. And my ex-husband called. And he said, is Nathan home? And I said, yeah, he's right here. Why? And he goes, don't let him leave. Do not let him leave. Oh. And I said, okay. So I he hung up on me, actually, which Wayne never hung up on me. And I was like, oh. And I looked at Nathan and I go, Nathan, what did you do? I go, he just hung up on me. He's on his way over here. And my husband, James, looks at Nathan and goes, Nathan, are you pregnant? Like, as a joke. And I'm like, no, seriously. I go, he was upset. Something's wrong. And then I even asked James, I said, it's not Nick, is it? And he goes, no. He goes, it can't be Nick. Because he goes, you're his mother. You're his POC.
Right.
If something happened to Nick, you would be the first to know. And I'm okay, so we're trying to figure out, so we had to wait 20 minutes to find out. And when Wayne, we're all watching out the window, Wayne pulled in the driveway. We have a U-shaped driveway, so he came in, parked right in front of the house, but we saw there was another vehicle behind him, and it had government plates. Oh. So we all went out there. When I remember, my memory is a little bit different than James's, I guess. I don't know why, but it just is. But I remember we all walked out onto the front porch, and Wayne jumped out of the car. His car came up to me screaming, he's gone, he's gone, he's gone. Wow. And I remember Nathan, because we have beams on our front porch, and I remember Nathan started punching the beam and swearing. And I remember turning around at that point and grabbing his hands and telling him to stop. And I hit my knees at one point and remembered that there was two people standing in front of me. So I stood up and I looked at them and I just asked them, I said, do you have something you need to say to me? And they said, yeah. And that's when they told me that Nick wasn't coming home.
Yeah. That's rough.
I don't even.
Yeah.
This worst fear. Dave and I have both been first responders for a long time, and you know that fear. You know, our wives went through it, and I feared it at work. Like I don't want my wife to get that notification, and to have to see that vehicle come up. If it were my wife and she had seen a police car roll up in the middle of the night when I'm supposed to be there, and it's not me, like that.
Right.
That feeling.
Oh yeah.
You know, that's obviously it's. You know, I almost hesitate with words to say I know how you feel, because I don't, right? And that's one of those things where I don't think people can really recognize it. Where I resonate with your story is that I've had to be that delivery of bad news. You know, our partner Eric is still in law enforcement. He had to do that the other day, deliver that news to somebody. And it's difficult, not necessarily with a colleague, but with, members of the community, right? Mm-hmm. I've had to be that person on a car wreck where mom shows up and I have to say, hey. And, it's hard because you're never ready for it. Nobody's ever ready to receive that news. And I think a lot from my position is like, nobody's ever ready to give that news. There's no training for that. There really isn't. And you don't, you hear about it all the time, like, oh, somebody got told that. I've been on the other side where I don't even know how to respond to you. I don't even know how to give that information. And so I can imagine that just getting that is obviously, it's a twist. And I think what I find amazing about it is kind of like the fact that we're here right now talking about Nick. So I've only met you a couple times, but your name is in the community, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's a testament to Nick, because something happened terrible. And you guys have done a great job in trying to take that and carry on his legacy, because there's a lot of people that go through this stuff. And there's a lot of people, that have been hit with this tragedy, whether it's not, maybe they didn't lose the family member, but they lost a friend, they lost somebody that was important to them. And in a small community like this is one of the neatest things that we love about North Idaho, is that there's people like you that don't become the victim, they become the victor. And that's what's really, really cool about knowing your story and knowing where you are now.
Thank you.
Right?
Yes.
That's super cool.
Well, that's part of our mission. I always say we have our mission. We have a mission statement, and we do what we do, and that says what we do. But part of our unwritten mission is that we want to make sure that none of our fallen are forgotten.
Right.
And we have our Hall of Heroes that you've seen, where we have some local fallen on our wall. And every time we give a tour, we show a new veteran around. We make sure that they know why Newby-Ginnings is spelled the way it is, and we introduce them to Nick, show them Nick's picture, show them the Hall of Heroes, and we want people to understand the true price of our freedom.
Yeah. What was it in you that shifted and took that tragedy and then turned it into this amazing thing?
So I did return to work. Probably about 2 months after we lost Nick, I went back to work for the state, and I had family medical leave, so I could just kind of come and go as I pleased, as I was able. So it definitely wasn't full time. There's no way to describe the loss of a child. It changes you on a cellular level, and I wasn't the same. I actually call her when I look at pictures of me prior to losing Nick, because I don't even know. She does not know what that feels like. But I just kind of took my time going back to work. I think it was about May, coming up on the 1-year anniversary. I'm back at work, running out of my medical leave. I still felt like my body was full of lead, just hard to move. And so we just kind of made the hard family decision to go down to one income for a little bit so I can figure out what I was going to do with my life. So I ended up leaving my job, and I never even renewed my nursing license. I knew I would never go back. And so I stayed home for about 1.5 years. And remember, this is a local unit. These were Nick's buddies that were in the convoy with him that day, in his unit. Just some of them were actually a lot of his very good friends were in the convoy with him that day. And they were struggling. And a lot of them were calling me. They call me Mama Newby. And I don't know, it was just kind of a safe place. And it's a very long story. I do remember my ex-husband Wayne saying, you know what you should do? You should start a foundation for Nick. And I go, no. I go, you start a foundation for Nick. I don't know. I'm a nurse. I don't know how to start a foundation. So now, yeah, he just laughs at me because I kind of started a foundation. So, yeah, it's a really long story. And there was lots of friends involved, and my husband was involved. But we thought, well, that's what we can do. We can start a program that helps these young men and women that are struggling after deployment, because these young men and women were struggling after deployment.
Right.
They were struggling with PTSD, traumatic brain injuries, financial problems, relationship problems. And like I said, a lot of them were calling me, so I was aware of this. And so I really thought it was going to be Iraq, Afghanistan era veterans that were coming in. And I was going to just do it from home. You know, I didn't know this was going to happen.
Right.
So I was just going to do it part-time. I bought a little MacBook Pro. I wrote my mission statement, which is still exactly the same. Haven't changed a word. The motto, humble support and steadfast honor to those who served and sacrificed. And we developed the logo, which I will have you know is a hawk. It's not a sad little eagle. A lot of people are like, it's an eagle. No, it's not an eagle.
It's a hawk.
It's a hawk.
Got it.
Okay.
A hawk, yes. The hawk is the bird of war.
Okay.
So when you have a hawk that crosses your vision from left to right, it symbolizes victory.
Oh.
So our hawk, our bird of war, symbolizes victory, and he's got the universal symbol of the military, which is the dog tags with a gold star for families of military fallen.
That is super cool.
That's an amazing
Yeah.
logo.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I found it, I discovered it watching America's Funniest Home Videos.
Odd.
Of course, right? Very educational.
Yeah.
So okay, you started in your home. You had this idea. I mean, did you know where you were going to go with it? Like, how are you going to support families? What are you going to provide for them?
So I got my articles of incorporation in the mail on October 15th of 2013. And that was the day I called Scott Thorsness, who was Kootenai County Veteran Services at that time. Didn't really know him. I just looked up Veteran Services. And I introduced myself and said, my name is Theresa Hart. I'm the Gold Star mother of Nick Newby, and I just started a nonprofit to help veterans. So if you have a veteran that needs something, please have them call me. Been doing a little bit prior to that because I'd been talking about it a lot. And when you lose a child in combat, there are other Gold Star families out there that pull you into the fold. And some of them, Kim Cole is a Gold Star mother out in Washington. She lost her son in Afghanistan, and he was a Marine. And she started the Fallen Hero Banner Project. So I got pulled into that fold. And so she was aware of the veteran community and veterans that needed stuff. And I remember one day she called me. This was before I got my articles of incorporation in the mail. She called me and she said, Theresa, have you started Newby-Ginnings yet? And I go, no, Kim, I didn't. I'm still thinking about it. And she goes, well, you better think fast. She goes, because we just had a veteran lose everything in a house fire. And he's got nothing. And I went, okay. Here we go. That was my very first veteran. And so my husband and I were doing it just on our own. We had a F-350 with a trailer, and we called some of our contacts, and we took what we had out in our garage, and we brought it to that veteran. And when we walked into his apartment, he got an apartment, probably the Red Cross put him up, and there was literally nothing in that apartment except for a cardboard box with a laptop and a sleeping bag that the three of his wife, and 2-year-old daughter were sleeping in.
Wow.
So we got him everything he needed for his new place, and then we just kind of took off from there.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you started in your garage.
Yep.
How long did that last?
2 months.
2 months. Okay.
Then
where did you go?
I was parking out in the snow, and I didn't
Okay.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
So we moved to a little industrial unit right behind our house. It was 1,700 square feet. And we took everything that was in my garage and we put it in that, and it looked massive. And I thought, we're going to be here forever. And no, the owner at the time, I'll even tell you what it is, because I do blame him a lot. But the owner of my complex at that time was Bruce Matari.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And he asked me, he says, well, what are you going to do here? And I said, I don't know. I just have to get this stuff out of my garage. And he says, well, let's not lock you into a whole year. Let's just give you 6 months, see what you're going to do. He had to let me out of that lease early because we got full in 5 months and couldn't even move.
Yeah.
So then we moved out to Dalton Gardens, and that was 2,900 square feet, had a little office. You know, I thought for sure I was going to be there forever. And when our 2-year lease was up, again, we had to move. So then we moved out to where we are now, which is Riverbend,
Okay.
out by State Line, right by the Greyhound Park in the old outlet mall.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Now, I know we've asked you a lot real quick, but I just don't want to leave Drew out here. Drew,
Yeah.
you're the project manager, correct?
Yes, program manager.
Program manager. What's your what exactly do you do for Newby-Ginnings?
Everything that Theresa needs me to do.
Okay.
Including moral support.
The
So
moral
he's
support.
right here. Yes.
Moral support for her and everybody that comes in the shop.
Yeah.
So primarily, we have a lot of volunteers. We don't exist without, one, our community, you know, giving, she had to expand a million times, you know, but the community here is amazing. And they find us and they're like, yeah, we're never going to donate to anywhere else again. And they love that. Because we don't have a cash register. Everything's free to our veterans and their families.
Yeah.
And this community loves their veterans, and they want to support that. So we have a lot of volunteers that come in, and they don't get paid. They do what they do every single day for free, out of the kindness of their heart, because they love our mission, and they love what we do, and they love their veterans.
Are a lot of these people veterans themselves?
There's a vast majority of them. If they're not veterans themselves, they're usually closely tied to, you know, family members that are, you know, in the military. It's a very vet-centric group of individuals that come in and volunteer.
Yeah.
But we also have, you know, people that have no military ties whatsoever at all, you know, but they find us and they find the mission and they just, you know, they come in, and once you become part of like the Newby-Ginnings family, you're there.
There's something neat. You know, my daughter laughs every time we go. Not that I eat there. Well, I can't right now because I'm on this dumb diet, but I'm still drinking coffee, people. It's still terrible.
It's black, don't worry.
Anyways, yeah, it is. It's horrible. So, you know, we'll go to Panda Express from time to time, and they're like, would you like to round up 4 cents for that? And I'm like, no. And my daughter's like, 4 cents? I'm like, look, there's a point where you got to say no. But the truth is that I don't have... I hate to say this, with the government influence and everything else, I don't know where my money's going. That's one of those things, like I love to give, I love to be involved, but one thing I'm not passionate about is just throwing my money in a bucket at a supermarket or something else and not being sure where this money's going, how it's actually getting to benefit people. So when organizations like yourself exist, especially locally, your money will never be spent better than in your local community, right? I talk about this all the time for supporting small business. Like, don't buy your stuff on Amazon. The money leaves your community. And it's not that other communities don't deserve that, but people need to be able to spend their money within their community. So when we donate, like, that's one of our favorite things, right? Is being involved with local communities, local organizations. Man, I feel I've heard of you guys. I've seen you around. I know what you do. It's nice to know that, you know, hey, if I'm going to donate $100, $500, food, water, gifts, whatever else, that I know that it has a direct translation to other people in this community that have that need, right?
100%.
I think that's awesome.
Can we backtrack? Because you mentioned there's no cash register. For people that don't know, what is it that you provide? What does that storefront look like? Because I think that's a key note, that there's no cash register. That's pretty wild.
You want me? Okay. I'll do it. So we are a veteran support program. We provide services to veterans, active service members, and Gold Star families. And what we do is we accept donations from the community, like a thrift store. So I won't mention any.
Okay.
Like a thrift store.
Okay.
And, you know, it stays there. We have one shop that is now 9,200 square feet.
Oh.
We have one shop, and everything comes in, it gets processed by our volunteers, and it's put out on the floor right there. And our veterans, all they have to do is prove military service. They have to show us a government-issued form of ID, like a DD-214, military ID, VA card, or Washington and Idaho have the veterans endorsements sometimes now.
Okay.
So we'll accept that, because they require the same proof that we do.
Got it.
So they fill out a short enrollment form. One thing that we're very proud of is it's very easy, non-invasive, zero red tape.
Yeah.
You know, they get to come in and show us that. We don't make a copy of it and just lay eyeballs on it. Once we
Right.
lay eyeballs, they're good to go. And they get to go shopping for free. There's carts, and they go shopping. And we have clothes, shoes, furniture, housewares, food. That's
Yeah.
a big thing. We have a food pantry now. But all of those essentials, we have what we call the Home Depot room, which is, honestly, I just call it a giant junk drawer. But that's where you find all the cool stuff.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
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 How many families do you guys serve? Do you have a count of that, roughly?
Yes. We are coming up on 6,700 families.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Do you guys
Families.
have a number of
Veterans.
veterans how many are up in North Idaho? Do you know, roughly?
Yes.
I've heard like 20-something
It's
thousand.
about 20-something thousand.
Okay.
And I just looked this up, actually, because we're doing some fundraising right now.
Okay.
We'll talk about
Yeah.
that. So we have about twice as many in Spokane County, and we're right there on state line.
Mm-hmm.
And doing our statistical research, we found that we are serving almost the same amount. 40% of our veterans are in Spokane, 42% in Kootenai County. The
Yeah.
other
So
20
this isn't a state line thing, right? Like this is not just Idaho. This is
all over.
You're a veteran.
You're a veteran.
That's awesome.
If
Yep.
you're within reach of Newby-Ginnings,
Yeah.
Yeah.
they come.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
And further.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
20% are outside, very, very rural.
Yeah.
Our clients are coming from all over.
Because we say it a lot on this podcast that North Idaho is like the highest concentration of veterans and former first responders anywhere in the U.S. I haven't proved that, but I say it enough that I think people believe it. And I honestly believe it in my soul because it's everyone you meet has some tie to one of those communities. And I think that's one of the factors that makes this place so amazing. So to serve them like that,
It's amazing.
that's
Well,
huge.
I had no idea this was going to happen. And I literally had people, when I first started Newby-Ginnings, say, don't do it. No one will come. Did it anyway.
yeah.
Nope,
They
he said,
shouldn't
no one will come. So typically, we're open Monday through Thursday, so 4 days a week. We typically, historically, we would enroll 10 to 15 new veterans a week in the 4 days,
Wow.
right? Yesterday, we enrolled 11 new veterans in 1 week, or 1 day.
Whoa. A day.
1 day.
Dude.
That's the way it's happening. I mean, the economy, whatever, they're struggling.
Right.
They're
Yeah,
struggling.
Well, they are. And the truth is that the veterans nowadays, Nick, right? Your son, the people that have gone to the military, that have joined the community nowadays are a different breed than they were back in the 40s, right? It's more select. There's fewer people willing to put themselves out there, right? I mean, 1941, you'd be 16 years old, you'd be faking an ID because you want to go in and you want to serve the country, right? We have so much entitlement in this country that there is so much pressure put on the backs of veterans and people that want to serve, that want to make that change, that are willing to do it. I never went in the military. You know what I mean? And I was one of those kids that I grew up, I'll be honest, I mean, even though we had no money, there was still a sense of entitlement, the fact that I don't need to go serve, right? America's got me. Like that was never something that I grew up with where people were like, you should go serve your country. That was something that never, like community, I became a fireman. I wanted to serve my community, right? But I never had, when I grew up, there wasn't that sense of national, just use the word pride that there was years and years ago. So for those that get it, those that figure it out, and those that join because they understand that there is a price to our freedom, like it is not something that we can take lightly. And that there is still work to be done. It's a continual process, right? And so people don't realize that. So the people that are veterans nowadays, to be honest, when I look at the pay that people in the military get, and then I look at other people that said, you know what, I'm good. I'm going to go to college and I'm going to get this degree and I'm going to do these things, and they're living high on the horse. Good for them, because a lot of them work in fields that we need them to. What I'm saying is that sense of going in and spending your 4 years or being, part of the country and protecting what the values and the opportunities that we have, it's a different group of people. And I thank your son, Nick, and all of them that joined and went in the military, right, and did those things, because that's something that I didn't have the pride to do when I was younger. I wish I did. Right?
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you guys need you say you have food. Does the food go fastest?
Flies out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you were to put out word to the community of, hey, we really need these things, that would be number one on the list.
I would say yes.
Food.
Non-perishable food would probably
Non-perishable.
be number one. We always need just those basic things that a lot of us take for granted. Sheets, towels, blankets.
Pots, pans.
Yep. Cookware.
Cookware.
We get a lot of crappy stuff that comes in and we can't even put it out.
Yeah.
Because it's, people are switching out their stuff. They give us their old stuff, but we're like, yeah, the Teflon, you can't put yucky Teflon out there.
Right.
Because it's poisonous. So
Right.
a lot of this stuff we can't use. So we run low on cookware.
That's always tricky too. I'm always conscious when we're donating to a thrift store of like, all right, is this something like someone can actually use, or are you just getting rid of trash? And we went through. So my house burned down in a wildfire in 2018. Our whole town burned down in Paradise, California. And so I went through that like donation phase where people are being they think they're being kind, but like nobody wants a worn out pair of Costco sneakers. Like it's like, you know what I mean? Like you gotta be a little cautious about what you're donating,
Yes.
So you guys probably would like more newer things.
Sure, we say gently used and we say
Okay.
home ready.
Yeah.
Because we don't have any way to clean anything, fix anything. We don't have the resources. We don't even have a utility sink in our warehouse. If there's something that needs to be washed, it has to be brought way up front to the kitchen or the bathroom sink in the
Okay.
back.
Yeah.
So it has to be home ready. And we have had some people say that, well, if they don't have anything, they should be happy to get anything.
We have
No.
an amazing
No.
community, but
Sometimes.
we've had our fair share of individuals show up and very ungraciously dump a box of garbage and say, you should be thankful for this. And
Can you call me next time that
Can you
happens?
give me
Dave
their
and I
name?
will come down.
I would like their name.
We will come down.
So let's give me a name.
Can I just a little? The reason I think it is, so it's not really calling them out necessarily, but we're so close to Washington, and in their defense, they have to pay for the dump,
Oh.
right?
okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So here we don't.
Yep.
We don't. We can go to the dump for free. So if we have somebody with Idaho plates come up to our warehouse and say they have all this stuff, and we're like, oh, I'm so sorry, we can't accept that. We can't accept that. That's broken. They're like, no sweat. They throw it back in their truck and they'll bring it down the street to the dump.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yep.
Washington plates not the case.
So let me ask you this: have you guys done this as a campaign? I know sometimes we get together and we start thinking, and we're like, oh, dude, I got it. We have too many ideas. We have an idea app where when we think of something, we're supposed to put it in there. I can't even remember to put it in there. But have you guys ever done a pickup campaign where you put something out to the community, you use somebody to help get it out there, to let people know, like, hey, on these days, we're going to be in your community. We need you to give us your address, put stuff on the front, and we're going to swing by and pick it up and get a bunch of your volunteers, us, anybody else, come around with trucks and just pick up stuff. Because you know what? People are lazy.
Yeah.
They really are. People are lazy. I'm lazy. My wife is driving. She made a post this morning. She's driving around with something that she needs to go donate to Goodwill. In the back of her car, it's been in there for like 2 months. Okay? But if there was a campaign where you guys did some crazy thing during spring cleaning that you say, hey, any of your goods, and obviously outlining the things that are important, not trash, and having people come around, I would be surprised. I bet you guys would be able to get a lot of stuff.
Well, let me shed some light on that.
Yeah.
So we
I'm
have done
interested.
that.
Okay.
We have, like up in the Highlands, we've had some
yeah.
volunteers that live up there, and they have put the little door markers on,
Yeah.
said put your stuff out, mark it for Newby-Ginnings, and it works really great. So we have done that.
Okay.
However, we're so limited on our space right now. We get, no exaggeration, 50 cars a day.
Oh.
Wow.
Okay. And that's in addition to what Cedric, our driver, who's an angel, goes out every single day and picks up. We have a box truck, and
Okay.
he goes. We are booked out till like towards the end of February right now.
Oh.
So you don't even have room if you were to do something like that.
Well, I always say we're like the tide. It comes in and it goes out. It comes in, it goes out. It's like it's pretty quick. It's pretty quick
Yeah.
turnaround. But we do have a balance we need to maintain. So right now, with what people drop off, 50 cars a day, and what Cedric brings in. We got a pretty good balance.
Yep.
So we need a
And
bigger place and about another 40 volunteers.
I think that's the next conversation that we're about to have is how we're going to fix that.
Yep.
So in that case, would it be more important for people to bring food then? Because that goes so quickly. We're just
No, we definitely need food, but we need
But everything? Okay.
Everything. Because
keep
like
it
I said,
coming.
it goes, oh gosh, if you guys were just to come and see
yeah.
what they get. I mean, things that you wouldn't even realize, I mean, I bring stuff to Newby-Ginnings. I always have a little pile of things that I'm not using, and to watch it walk out the door, and it's brand new to that person.
Yeah.
And, I know that our families receive things at Newby-Ginnings that they would never be able to afford otherwise. Our donors are so crazy generous.
That's awesome. It's Dave.
Oh, I'm
It's
so
weird.
glad that was you and not
Yeah.
me.
So weird
it's
that my
always Dave.
phone would go off in the middle of
always
a
Dave.
podcast.
Weird.
All right.
Weird.
So we have a space issue. What's the plan? You got a plan? Can we announce it?
Let's do it.
Okay. I'm excited.
Okay, so it was a while back. I met a lady. Her name is Jolene
Okay.
Severns. She's with Lakeside Architecture. She called me and she wanted to do a fundraiser for Newby-Ginnings because she had just opened her own. I don't know, what do you call a practice or
Firm?
Firm.
Firm. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so I went out there and I met her and we talked about it. She was going to do a little fundraiser. And I asked her, like, towards the end of the meeting, I said, so what is our connection? I don't know any architects. And, and she got a little misty and she said, my husband served with Nick.
Oh.
And I went, oh, okay. So we've been friends ever since.
Yeah.
So we hired Jolene to take my dream of the Newby-Ginnings Veteran Community Center, not just Newby-Ginnings Veteran Community Center, and put it on paper. And so we have the plans.
What does that entail? Because it sounds like there's more.
So what it's going to be Newby-Ginnings, big Newby-Ginnings, and satellite offices for our community partners.
Yes.
So we will literally be one-stop shop for our veterans and the community, for
Like health services, that kind of stuff too, or
counselors.
Okay.
Spokane Vet Center wants to have a spot there for.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
They've had satellite offices in the past, and I think COVID kind of pushed that aside. They haven't really pushed it back up yet. So they're going to write us a letter of support. They want to be involved. We've received a lot of interest in wanting to be involved.
What's the square footage of this new building?
So the building that Jolene drew for us was 40,000 square feet and included offices. A building that we found already built right down the street from us that has offices is 39,000 square feet.
Oh.
It's almost identical.
Yeah.
And I know this is a crazy little weird thing, but I wanted my office to overlook the warehouse so I could watch everything that was going on.
Yeah.
This building
How's
has
that?
windows that overlook the warehouse.
That she Newby-versed it.
I knew it. He says I
there's-
funnel the Newby-verse.
Yeah.
There's this thing that we have called the Newby-verse. It is.
It's real.
It's real. I just started taking notes so that we can write a book about it, or I'm going to write a book about it one day. But it is the weirdest, sometimes creepy, but also one of the most amazing things that I've ever been able to experience in my life. And we kind of joked about it when I first came to Newby-Ginnings, and then I realized it was a real thing.
Yeah.
So if there's a need, for example, you tell us, her specifically, the funneler of the Newby-verse here. If you say that something is needed, and then you walk into Newby-Ginnings, it's the weirdest thing. It shows up magically. It is the weirdest thing in the world. Like there was one of our vets needed it was a Canadian dryer or something. We just right. When's the last time you ever seen a Canadian dryer in anywhere?
I don't even know what a Canadian dryer is.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So this now pops into the Newby-verse, the funnel. Right, and then guess what
It showed
happens? It just shows up all of a sudden. Comes
That's
in the
wild.
back. And they're like, oh yeah, here's this Canadian dryer. And we're like,
Never seen one in my life.
hey, we have this thing, oddly specific thing that you asked for. It happens all the time. So she Newby-versed her office into this already building
Pre-existing
that
building.
Gosh.
That is funny.
It's amazing.
I mean, yeah, there are higher things at play here, obviously. And,
Yes,
and
thank you.
How do you get this building? What do you need?
I mean, specifically,
Yeah.
$8 million?
About
$8 million.
That's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
I got to believe there are people out there. We run into people all the time that have lots of money that want to put it to a good cause. Like, I got to believe
I have to believe.
that it will present itself.
We have definitely reached a crossroads, and we are to the point where our families are waiting hours. We have 9 carts. We cannot let our families just bum rush the warehouse and go shopping because it wouldn't be safe. You can't pass 2 carts in the aisle. You can have 2 carts in the aisle, but they're facing each other. And then they have to back out.
Yeah.
We just don't have the room. So 9 families get to shop at a time. The lobby will be full, shoulder to shoulder people waiting to go back.
And
Yeah.
the
They
library.
need their food and the library, and they're waiting. So if we have families waiting to go back to shop, we have to limit the families that are shopping to 30 minutes, just so we can keep people moving through. We
Right.
see on a slow day 150 people in there a day. Wow. On a slow day.
Day.
This is
I did.
amazing how impactful this is.
I
Like, it's
know.
amazing how impactful that is. Because, I mean, you hear about it, you think, oh, donation. I don't know if there's 150 people that go to Goodwill in a day. Like, I mean,
Possibly. Well, that's
this
on a
is
slow
amazing.
day. Like,
Yeah.
so most people thought we were closed yesterday because it was a holiday, but we like being open on those holidays because people work and it's
Right.
a chance for them to come down. So we weren't like crazy busy because they didn't realize. We still enrolled 11 new veterans yesterday. And it wasn't crazy busy. It was only about 150,
So
but we
this
see
is-
about 200.
This is still growing. I mean, it's
Oh,
growing
yeah.
a lot.
It's exploding. It's
Wow.
So you need, are there federal grants or state grants that can help offset that cost?
Yeah, so I am not good at asking for money, and I've never really written grants. Everything that Newby-Ginnings has been able to accomplish so far has been through donations and like fundraising, fun stuff, golf
Right.
tournaments, and our community. Our community is
community is
so
amazing.
Yeah.
so incredible, so incredible. I haven't had to write these big crazy grants. I haven't had to. And I've always been very, very proud of the fact that the VA is not involved, the government is not involved. It's, like I said, no red tape.
The red tape ties things down. I joke
Yeah.
about that all the time with law enforcement and fire. I've been in both, and like, man, if you want to become less productive, get the government involved, and you will do less, and you will do it at a slower pace than anybody else.
Right.
So
100%.
good for you. That is awesome.
It may change. It may change because what we want is it's big.
Yeah.
But we will set a precedent. I am confident we can make this happen. We need the help of our community. We just contracted with Jocelyn, who is she's a nonprofit strategist, fundraiser, grant writer.
Oh, perfect.
Had our first meeting last night, and we're hitting the ground running.
Perfect.
Yeah.
What was the question I was going to ask? Okay, so this space, will it be there? Is someone holding it for you? Is the landlord cool?
The landlord is super.
That's
cool.
where I'm going with that.
However, it is for sale.
Oh,
He
okay.
can't.
Right.
We don't have, like, you guys know this. You can probably even inform me on this. But an $8 million property, even if we were to raise $7, if he's fixed on $8 million, has to have $8 million. We raised $7. We couldn't even afford the mortgage on a $1 million mortgage. So we really need to raise $8 million. If someone comes in with an $8 million cash offer, we get bumped.
Right.
It's sad. And I'm not, you know what? It may happen, it may not, but I'm not concerned. I think that all we're going to do is we'll get bumped. That'll just change our path. We're going to find something else.
Yeah.
I'm not worried.
Okay.
This is the building.
Yeah. The funnel.
But I think that this building is absolutely perfect for us. And we have, our goal is $8 million in 2025.
All right.
8 million, 2025. Okay.
behind the power curve a little bit.
We needed a little bit more time. We got set back a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
So
It's okay.
we would like to be obviously kept in the loop when things come out, fundraising efforts begin, and everything else, because it really does sound like it's a cash deal, right?
If people listen to, sorry, cut you off. I'm not sorry, actually. If people listen to this right now, do you guys have a website, anywhere they can go to donate money specifically for this?
absolutely.
Okay.
Go to the newbyginnings.org website.
Okay.
And there's a picture of the building. So it's really cool. There's a picture of the building, and right next to the picture of the building is a little red button. And I don't remember what the red button says, but it says donate or something like that. And that takes you to our fundraising page. and you can read all about it. I have to say it, but I wrote that letter that's on there explaining our capital campaign on Thanksgiving Day, sitting on the couch, and I was watching the Cowboys crush New York. And I know that wasn't, it was like a one-time deal, but I was really having a great day.
The Cowboys winning?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Agreed.
It was, so I was having a good day, and it really just, I nailed it.
Yeah,
I nailed it.
nice,
Yeah.
nice. You're flowing. I gotta believe there's somebody out there with $8 million sitting around. Just like pony up, put your name on the building. Dave and I'll take you out to lunch. Like, let's go.
We'll buy
I'll
you
go.
lunch.
Not a big
Yes,
deal,
absolutely,
right?
I'll go
Not a
too.
big deal.
No, that's super cool. And honestly, that's something that we're going to keep in mind. So the goal is by this year, at the end of the year, to raise the $8 million. Okay.
I feel like
That is our goal.
if the community collectively puts their minds and prayers to it, like these things can happen.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool to help because I'd love to see you guys do that. I mean, that is super, super neat. And once again, this is a veteran community. It really is. Like,
Right.
there's a lot of people up here that fly the flag and they fly proudly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about this before you guys walked in here and the importance of having the American flag up in schools. You know, it's not a political statement. It's not anything else. This is where you live. This is, we've lost the ability to be proud to be an American, right? We've lost that ability because there's a lot of people in this country look down on that, or they think it's a bad thing, or they think if you like this country, then all of a sudden you're racist, you're homophobic, or you're against these things. That's not the case. It's not a political statement to love America.
Right.
And it's become almost looked down upon by a lot of people in this country, and it shouldn't be.
Well, and I think too, it's because information is just so accessible. Our kids that would be so proud of their school, their community, their country, have access to so much information to the
Right.
contrary, and it's a lot of information.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have so we're partnering up to help with the Ruck March this year, the Ruck for the Fallen. Do
Yes.
you know Big John
Oh, yeah.
Fontaine from the
Yes,
okay. So
yes.
he works with us, and we're gonna take over a lot of the marketing side of that and try to push that out because that was big. Last year was the first year they did it, and it was big. I
Yeah.
think it was like 4,000 pounds of food they brought you guys.
It was
something?
massive, way more than we expected.
Yeah.
It was such a great
Well,
problem.
bring an extra truck this year. and
Yeah,
let's
because
do
we're
it.
going to
lesson.
rock it this year, and we want to see it huge. We're going to have flags. My goal is to get flags for all of the armed forces, and the blue line flag, red line flag, and we'll be proudly marching those down. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that because that's a good way to just get
It's
a
already
lot
on
of
the
food.
calendar.
Yep.
Yep.
It's already
let's
scheduled.
Beginning of May. I can't remember the day, but it's coming up. We'll post the heck out of it. So
Let's set some goals and let's crush them for that day. And if you're listening, if you weren't last year, that was absolutely awesome. John did a fantastic job at getting people rounded up, but we want to double that. We want to make it awesome. And if food's that thing, like, let's do it. Let's
Yeah.
get people down there, and it'll be great.
we will we'll link the website into our show notes so that people
Okay.
can find it. And if you guys want to donate to an excellent cause right here at home in North Idaho, please do. And thank you for sharing that story. You almost got me. I have not cried in 30 years, but you almost got me, and that was like really impactful. So thank you.
It was.
That's
We
I
appreciate
can't
it.
imagine. Yeah, appreciate it very much.
Well, thank you for
Yeah.
having us here. And like I said, I love talking about Nick.
Yeah.
I know that there's, roads you can take, and I think the easy road is not getting out of bed.
Right.
That wasn't a choice for me.
Good.
I wanted to do something with it, and I don't want anybody to ever forget about him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Legacies aren't easily carried unless people are willing to do it,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Like, if you're not willing to do it, then things have a tendency to die, for real.
Yep.
So that's amazing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys. Theresa and Drew from Newby-Ginnings. Please check out the link in the show notes and donate. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.